In a world clouded by noise,
Truth is waiting in the quiet
it whispers.
until someone dares to listen.
She is the Oracle, Tammy Demirza, a world-renowned intuitive.
A messenger of what's hidden
She sees what others cannot.
and speaks the truths you have been seeking. And he is the master, Sifu Rafael, a master instructor, strategist,
A guide who leads with discipline
turning wisdom.
into action. Together,
We awaken what's been buried
we ignite the hunger for truth,
and we challenge illusions.
guiding you to your next level of power. Two powerful souls unite to awaken what's been buried.
To break what's been bound and to speak what others want. The Oracle,
And the Master,
it's time.
Good morning, Tammy. How are you today?
Morning. I am great. I know every time I ask you how you are, I need to start saying what I think I'm going to say is outstanding.
You are. You are. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what is it that you say every single time? I know we started with this last time, but go ahead, do it again.
I'm exceptional and getting better every day.
That's great. I'm going to start saying outstanding. I got to remember it.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? The reason I say it is because basically on what the topic is today, right? Stop. Stop. Stop fighting. Stop fighting what is. And if I don't believe that I'm exceptional, no one else will either.
That's true.
So it starts with me every time, every day, every morning. It's 7:30 a.m. and I've already been to the gym. I've already had my workout. I did an incredible shower. I meditated in the shower. I let the water super clean me. And it's not any other water that would clean anybody else. And why is it super for me? Because I made it so.
Yeah.
So what is it? So I stopped fighting what I know I have to stop fighting. And we're going to touch upon it a little bit is doubt. I have no doubt in my life that I am exceptional.
When did you get to that point?
That's a great question because for me, I've been exceptional my whole life. But understanding it,
Yeah.
that's the reality. And to be honest with you, I believe that for me, it started happening in my late teens. In my late teens, because the more I helped other people, the more I realized I was helping me. And the beauty in that is I was not selfish because the more I gave, the more I received. And I'm not talking about money. I didn't receive money because I gave something to somebody or helped somebody. I received that inner wisdom that no one could ever take away from me.
Mm.
And so when you stop fighting what is, man, the universe opens up. People open up. There's such beauty in finding out who we are.
Yeah.
Every day we have that choice. We can fight it or we can stop fighting it. What is it for you, Tammy, that you've stopped fighting and realized that the exceptional person that I'm seeing before me is exceptional?
I'll tell you, for some reason, my mind is going back to the homelessness
Mm,
and waking up in the heaviness of it was almost Sifu like I didn't want to wake up because there was some peace, at least while I slept. But then
mm,
when I woke up and the reality was so different, and it was you're homeless, you don't have money, you might have, I might have woken up that day with 50 cents in my checking account, or I would wake up worried. I would wake up in victim mindset. I would wake up in, why did you do this to yourself? Questioning. I think
Mm.
that's one of the worst forms of self-abuse that I know of, is questioning ourselves and why we did things. So that to me was fighting. And what I would have to do, Sifu, literally, there were so many days during that period of time that there was no food. There was no way to even pay where I was staying at a
Mhm.
hotel. I was living at a hotel. It's crazy, but I was.
Wow.
And I wasn't on the street, but I did not know if I was going to be able to sleep there the next night. I would wake up in those states and I would feel the heaviness, the burden of it. And so what I had to do, Sifu, every single day until I finally it wasn't there anymore, was I would wake up with the heaviness. I mean, I think all of us wake up with something's off.
Mm.
Something's off in our life, or we have digestion issues, and that means we're clairgustant and we don't like what we're tasting in our life. So our stomachs are upset. That's fighting. I'm talking about the symptoms and what we do. And I think for me, I knew inherently, if you don't get past your mindset and the way you're thinking about it and beating yourself up and questioning and wondering why he could steal everything. How can a human being do that to another human being and not even have a conscience? These are all things that were in my mind. That is fighting. And I knew, Sifu, that if I didn't overcome that, if I didn't stop thinking that way, if I didn't accept you're homeless,
Mm.
doesn't matter how you got here. You cannot change 1 minute from 1 minute ago. You
Mm.
can't. So I think that acceptance for me of, okay, you're homeless. I accept it. And then I would change my mind and start thinking about what I wanted, and miracles would occur. Suddenly, the guy who stole from me would put $300 in my checking account, or somebody would give me with something, or somebody would call and say, I want to cook you lunch today. And I'm like, oh my God.
Mm.
Every single time I got out of fighting and went into alignment with what is, I am in this place. I cannot change 1 second ago.
Wow.
Just be as you are, be where you are. And then I would transition to, what do I want? Oh, I want some food today. I never went without a meal. I never, ever went without a meal because I was constantly doing this thing of shifting from fighting. And one of the illustrations that I was given one morning while laying in the bed was, why are you swimming upstream? And I
Mm.
went, Tammy, it's like you're in a ravenous river
Right.
that's to take
Wow.
you downstream, and you are fighting and swimming upstream, and it wears you out. So fighting wears you out, and really, really, seafood does not help anything.
Mm-mm.
So no matter what you as a listener are facing, no matter what predicaments you find yourself in, no matter what you've done, what decisions you've made, what decisions other people have made, you have created this reality.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you a really cool secret. If you've created this reality, which you have, and you accept it and you stop fighting it, then you can create a new reality. And I was vacillating, Sifu, in that, from the heaviness to the highs of suddenly manifesting something. The other day, I was a little bit concerned about money because um, I'm in this place of building something brand new. So I'm not really offering things, but I was talking to the universe about it and God about it. And I said, it doesn't matter whether I have the program and everything completely set, the strategies and everything is set, because I'm this close to the end of it. I still want the money to live. And I manifested $16,500 in
Mm,
less than 24 hours. And it was because I stopped fighting and
yeah.
worrying about and thinking about and doubting and fearing, how am I going to do this? And went to the same thing that I did when I was homeless that made me overcome it and buy the home that they see. And everything else that I've done, all the trips, all the traveling, is you can't fight. You got to accept, because
Mm,
victims don't have choices.
no. Mm,
Victors do. Yeah.
wow. That was powerful. When you think about the fact that you manifested what needed to happen next in your life, because you didn't stay there. You did accept that you were homeless, but that doesn't mean you have to stay there, right?
That's it. That's it.
If you think about life, life is a journey. It's a train ride, bus ride, plane ride, rocket ride. Sometimes it feels like a rocket. Sometimes it feels like you're walking backwards,
Yeah.
but it's still a ride, right? And it's what we do with what we've been given. And when we can accept what we've been given and then build from it, because I think every mistake is also something we have to accept. Because when we make a mistake and we try to blame someone else for that mistake, it's going to bite us in the butt, right? I
Yeah.
rather own my mistakes. Listen, what's at the end of every pencil that's made in the world, for the most part?
An eraser.
Yeah. And
And even
why is the
that
eraser there? And why is the eraser there? Because we all make mistakes, but we all try to use an eraser in our life. We cannot erase our mistakes. We have to own them. That doesn't mean you always put them in front and say, hey, look at this, look at that. Look at the people who get tattoos and then later on go, oh, and they got the name of somebody and then they break up. And then all of a sudden they're rushing to the tattoo parlor to cover it up somehow. And maybe they put a bird on it or a dragon or whatever it is. But that's not initially what they wanted. And they made a mistake, so they try to cover it up. One mistake that people usually will never cover up is if they put their children as a tattoo, the name of the child.
Mhm.
Uh, but that doesn't mean that you love them any more than somebody who didn't put their name. I have zero tattoos on my body. I am tattooed because this is what God gave me, and this is all I have. Right? This is how I show up. But different people, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a tattoo, but it's a way of identifying oneself. So, do we stop fighting who we are? Do we stop fighting what is and try to cover it up? Let me ask this question to anybody listening. For anybody who believes in heaven, will your tattoo show up with you? Will your if you've been an alcoholic, will you be put in a separate area? All the alcoholics to the left, all the people who had DWIs to the right, all the people who hurt somebody but then reclaimed themselves and said sorry, they go over there. No, I don't think that happens, right? If we believe in heaven, I think we all go to heaven as who we truly are inside. And so stop fighting who you are and go for what it is. What is it that I am? Who am I? Who did I wake up this morning as? Did I wake up as the person who made a mistake yesterday? Or do I wake up renewed? This is why I had such a powerful shower this morning. And I said I meditated in my shower, right? So I do two types of showers in the morning. call me crazy. My first one is really hot, hot, hot shower. And then all the way to freezing cold.
Whoa.
And I do that for anywhere from 3.5 to 4 minutes, right? Cold, 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 cold. And I don't procrastinate. Oh, am I going to turn it from hot to cold? Am I going to turn that knob? Oh no.
Do
Oh,
it.
let me count to 10. No, let me count to 20. Oh no. Let me try it. Let me do it again. Oh, no, none of that. It doesn't happen. I'm like, boom, one shot, one instant, because I'm accepting what is going to be happening. I'm going to actually enjoy the cold as much as I enjoyed the hot. And some days I enjoy the cold even more. And but that's a wake up call, and it's a meditation, right? When the heat is coming on, I am fully in a meditative state. I am in gratitude. When the cold comes on, then people come into my mind. People who may be going through a hard time, people who need an extra prayer for them. And that's who goes through my mind. So I'm always in gratitude, but there's different ways that I go into gratitude. I start with me, right? I'm alive. I woke up. Woohoo! Yes. And then I thank for all the gifts I've been given. And then I ask to be able to share those gifts. So, what is it that I need to do today? So, I stop fighting what it is that I need to do today and just do it. Just like going from hot to cold, there's no debate. It's a one instant decision. I don't even make a decision. I'm like, oh, hot is done, cold is on. And just yesterday, when I left the house, I got to the gym before 5 a.m. It was uh, it was 9 degrees and it was below zero. What it felt like.
The wind chill.
I didn't wear a winter coat. I didn't wear that. I wore my t-shirt and I wore a hoodie. I got in my car. I got to the gym because when I got to the gym, I don't want to have to go to the locker room and take off my coat and put in the locker. I get in there. I put my keys in a pocket. I walk in. I do my thing.
Mm,
But it wasn't the weather that was bothering me. Nothing was bothering me.
mm.
That's the beauty of it. It was a decision that the minute I woke up, I'm going to the gym. And most people who've had shoulder surgery like I have would not even consider going to the gym.
But you're not normal.
Well, thank you for that. You and everybody who knows me keep telling me that. I got to wonder at that.
Yeah,
But this is what it is, right?
I see you.
Stop fighting it. Stop fighting who you are and be.
You know, there's a really kind of heavy story that leads to something beautiful. Can I share it? It's funny that the things that you brought up instigate these thoughts and these rememberings. I wrote about this in the book that I wrote, The Inmate and the Medium. It was a time that's where I was homeless and I was helping an inmate to get out of prison years before he was supposed to by doing the inner work for him. But I was also doing the inner work for me because I was homeless.
Right.
So I was living in the hotel. I mentioned that earlier, and there was a maid. She was actually the head maid. And I'm in the gym. They had a little tiny room that was a gym, and I'm in there, and there's this blonde-headed woman that comes in, and she's like, "Who are you?" I know, "Yeah, who are you?" I mean, I need to talk to you. I need
Mm.
to know you. And I finally just told her that I was a medium and that I was an intuitive, and she starts screaming. And I said, "If you don't stop screaming," she said, "I can't believe I'm in the room with somebody like the Long Island medium." And I said, "Do I look like the Long Island medium? I don't act like her either." But there are different levels of mediumship, and I call myself an intuitive because people, there's a lot of bad things about
Right.
mediums and charlatans. And so she's still kind of in this state of wanting to ask me some questions.
Mm.
And I'm like, she said, do you ever do anything like the Long Island Medium? Do you ever just walk up to somebody? I said, only when I'm asked. Well, guess what? This maid walks in and she's working on the soap dispenser and it's not fixed and she's lingering and she's hearing Kathy, this other lady, talk to me. And she's not moving. She's paralyzed, Sifu. And finally I said to Kathy, I said, you asked me if this ever happens. It's happening now. Can I trust you? Because this is going to be intense. Can I trust you to not scream, to not get excited, but to be calm so that I can talk to this lady? And she said, yes. And I looked to the maid and I said, you're waiting. She said, yeah. I said, let's go. And so I said, do you mind if I share something? I always ask permission. Even if I'm asked to do it, I'll ask permission. She said, yes. I said, your son is standing to your left. And he wants you to forgive yourself.
Wow.
And she starts bawling. And she's down like, I can't forgive myself. And I said, well, he's wanting you to know that he's dyed his hair blonde. He's very happy. And you had nothing to do with what happened to him. And by the way, he doesn't like the tattoo you put all over your chest.
Wow.
And she pulled her shirt down and his face was tattooed. And it was a guilt stamp.
Wow.
So every day she would wake up and see her body as she bathed, as she dressed, as she clothed, as she put her makeup on. She's seeing her son's face. I said, your son looks just like the tattoo you've got on your face. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like that you stamped your body for guilt, for blame. And he wants to communicate with you. And while the blame and the guilt is there and the shame, you can't communicate with him. And I said, you're a medium too.
Wow.
And so she broke, and I asked her 4 times, can you forgive yourself for something you didn't even do? And I told her a little bit about the murder. He was murdered. And she ended up crying and hugging me, and Kathy starting to get, oh, I can't believe it's like TV. And I'm like, Kathy, you got to stop or I'm going to have to ask you to leave. And it was just this beautiful healing that was going on. And about a year later, I was, it wasn't even a year. I think it was about 6 months. And I was sitting in the home of someone that I had become friends with. And I was staying with him for the summer because he wanted to go up north to Michigan, and Jan didn't want to leave. There's a whole chapter on Jan and Peter. And
before you go on, because I want to hear this, right? I had no idea you were going to tell us the story about this woman with the tattoo, and there I am talking about tattoos and how somebody may want to cover it and change it, and then you bring up this story. This is really
well,
incredible.
you instigated it, Sifu.
You're welcome.
I'm like, oh my God, I have to tell that story because it's so relative to what you said. And guys, just for the record, Sifu and I did not script one thing on our show. We are here in the flow, not fighting, not needing to control anything. We're just going with the flow. And then when he does this, I do this. And when I do this, he does that. So what ended up happening is that I'm a little later, and she would come to me and she would cry and she would hold me. And then I ended up being asked to give a bunch of clothes away. And she was about my size. So she was the only one out of all the maids that could actually wear my clothes. And it was beautiful. There was a healing every single time we saw each other. The 4.5 months that I lived there, I think it was the last 2.5 months after that happened. But the point is this. I don't even think we make mistakes. I think that we boldly choose specific curriculums spiritually. Here's the kicker. If you created it, you have the power to create something new and overcome it. And you can't overcome it while you're fighting it. So her fighting, my son died, my son died, my son died. He called me. the death was horrible. When I'm watching TV with the friend that I had, and they all knew that I was homeless. I mean, and they absolutely loved me. Well, I cooked. So Jen didn't cook. So I cooked the whole time Peter was gone. And that I told her, I said, I'll clean the house and I'll cook for you. That will be my service to pay you for being in your home. And they were like, you're not paying us, but you can cook because I don't. So what ended up happening is she said she always had the remote. And she that day looked at me and said, here. And I was going through and I heard stop. And it was the trial of her son's death.
Oh, wow.
She was on the stand. And I have to tell you something, and I'm tearing up a little bit. Knowing what that woman had gone through and the torment that she had gone through, and then knowing that she said, I know my son is with me, but I can't hear him. I said, because of your guilt, blame, and shame is a filter system.
Right.
You can't process information through that. If you lay that down, you will be able to communicate with him on a regular basis until he decides that's enough. I'm going to go do some other things, but I'll come back and visit. And they do. Sitting there watching just a little bit of that trial and knowing what a breakthrough she had had, I'm crying going, this is not as torturous for you as it was. But isn't it interesting that she stamped her body? And in so many ways, this is kind of what we do to ourselves. We take on a fake, what I call a fake identity by, if my identity was I'm homeless, I'd still be homeless.
That's right.
Whatever we focus upon expands and grows and gets bigger. So what has happened to us is not our identity. There's nothing to fight. It's not even a mistake. You agreed to go through this. And I said, your son's happy. And when I told her, I said, by the way, he's telling me over and over again to tell you that he's blonde-headed now. She said, he always wanted to be blonde-headed. So how beautiful that even when there is a fight, when we're trying to control, when we stamp ourselves and we identify, she said, every single day. I said, you are tormenting yourself.
Yeah.
You're not going to live long. Is that what you want? You want to go ahead and go so you can be with him? She said, no, I know I have some things to do. And I said, then get rid of the shame. And when you see his tattoo on your face, on your chest here, then smile. I said, I know you're happier. So it's an interesting story. You brought up the tattoo thing. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to share it. Yeah. And there's much more about it in the book, The Inmate and the Medium, if anybody wants to read it.
It's very interesting when we blame ourselves for other things that are outside of our control. And that's when we really have to stop fighting what is, right? Listen, I cannot control the next words that you're going to say, just like you can't control what I'm going to say.
Yes.
But we can control what we're going to say. And sometimes people go, oh, I didn't mean to say that. Yes, you did. Because it came out of your mouth. So the whole thing is do we hold ourselves accountable for what is, how we act, how we show up, how we interact with another human being, how we start our day? What's the intention for your day? I'm asking everybody in the audience, go ahead, share with us. What is your intention for today? What is your intention for tomorrow? What is your intention for next week? What plans do you have? By the way, next Wednesday is going to be an exceptional day because Tammy DeMerza is going to be at the UN doing 3 different speeches. She's going to be impacting so many people. So sending lots of love and hugs to you so that you have a safe trip. You come into New York and you're going to be speaking at the UN. That's an incredible accomplishment. But if you fought what is, you would be homeless and you would not be speaking at the UN.
On transformation, consciousness, and intuition.
Look at that.
I mean, and one of the things that I've learned about the UN is things fluctuate and flow and they move and they shift and they, they change on a dime. And
Hmm.
I didn't know a lot of this. So even in preparing, there's a 5-minute speech, and then I've been given the keynote speech at the gala. And then there's a 2-minute speech that I can do in the General Assembly, which is the largest room where all of the world leaders are. I can speak for 2 minutes. I can't even prepare for 3 speeches like that.
Hmm.
So some of this is going to have to be in the flow. There have been changes, there have been dynamics, and what are you going to do when suddenly the concept and what you were told changes? If you're fighting, you're going to get paralyzed.
That's it. That's it.
One of the things that I see people do so often is they check out. They completely check out. That is fighting it in a way. And I'll tell you an interesting story. I do life and breakthrough transformations, and I have this little Peruvian that is a spitfire. She's not even 5 foot tall, I don't think. And I have absolutely loved working with her. And she was coming to my home for 3 days. And I said, Janet, I've never been asked to do this before, but I need to tell you what I'm being told. The very first day, I have to get you on a mountain. We're going hiking.
Mhm.
Like, let's go. I said, seriously, unless you change, unless something in you shifts, I have to take you hiking. And the hiking trail is not easy. It's 4.5 miles. Don't be afraid if you think about hiring me. I'm not going to take you hiking. I've done this once. And I would tell her it's not really that bad of a hike because I don't hike that much, and 4.5 miles was easy.
Right.
Most of it is going downhill on a gravel road. But the worst part of it was just a short piece. And I turned and looked and I said, okay, this is the worst of it. Once you get past this, you're at the top. And then it's smooth sailing for more than 2.5 miles. And I'm in front of her because I'm leading. And all of a sudden I said, what are you doing? And I turned around and looked at her. She said, I checked out. I said, you checked out of your body when it needed you the most to climb this mountain. Now, Sifu, you could actually probably go into that a lot deeper because you're a master of the martial arts. You're a master of being in the body and having the body move and perform. So for you, this story is even more striking than it would be for most of our listeners or even me. And I'm like, Janet, does it make sense? I said, let's sit down for a minute. I'm going to use this moment. Does it make sense to you when your body needs you the most? You checked out of it? And she went, this is what I'm doing in every single thing in my life, including my business. And this is why my business is struggling.
Right.
And guess what? Her business didn't struggle after that. So she also one time was here, and I talk about this thing called the Cobra effect, where the universe brings up the Cobra and it's dancing in front of you and it's formidable. I actually asked to be in front of Cobras, and in Marrakesh with a client, I got to be in front of a Cobra, and I have pictures of me with a Cobra. So if any of you want to see it, let me know. I'll let you see it, or I'll try to. My phone's not near.
We'll send it to me and we'll put it up on the screen next time.
Okay. Well, it was fascinating being in front of those Cobras because I talk about them all the time. And when it's dancing in front of you and it's flared, you can't look around it. It's poisonous. It can kill you. But to me, the universe is bringing up what I call the Cobra effect, dancing in front of you. And you can either dance with it or you can fight it, and it will fight you and bite you. And this is really how the universe works. And so I was talking to her about that Cobra effect, and I said, I don't know why, but we need to leave right now. Do you trust me? So, of course, wherever you tell me we have to go to experience something. I said, we're going to a lake, and we're going to walk around the lake. For the first time ever, Sifu, I've been at this lake probably 100, 200 times.
Mm.
The first time ever, we're walking around the lake, and this man is walking, and he has a snake, and he's holding it, and it's more than 6 feet tall.
Am I?
And he's walking around the lake with this snake in his hand. And I said, I'm sorry, do you mind if I talk to you? And he was like, no. And I said, what are you doing with the snake? And he said, well, I found it in my father's yard right over here, and I didn't want it to bite my father. So I brought it over here to the lake, and I put it in the lake, and the snake came right back out of the lake. So I picked it up again, and I threw it back in the lake, and it came out of the lake again. And now I'm just taking it back home to my dad's yard. Janet and I were dying laughing, and I said,
That's very funny.
talking about snakes, the universe says you're going to see a snake.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, the snake said, I'm not going in the water. I need to go back to your dad's yard.
why fight what is okay?
Mm.
His fear of the snake biting his dad, which I don't even know if the snake was poisonous, but his fear made him try to do something that is out of scope and swimming against the flow and, making things hard. And there's no
Right.
telling how long that man spent on that snake and
That's
throwing
funny.
it in the lake twice. And it would just come back out. And I was like, but this is how we act, isn't it? This is how we act. We keep trying to control things, or we're beating ourselves up and we're hiding in a corner.
Yeah, yeah. It's very interesting when we can look at nature, but we can also see our part in nature,
Oh,
because
yes.
we don't always think that we belong in nature, but we actually do. And when you can get into an environment and you can connect with the environment, this is why so many people talk about grounding, right? We need to ground ourselves. And so many times we're fighting it. And so I had a conversation with somebody who lives in a high rise, and they live in a city with concrete everywhere. And I said, take your shoes off, even in your own apartment, because it's all connected. Take your shoes off so you can ground yourself. Even on concrete, the concrete goes deep. Eventually, it's going to ground to the earth. And so this is one of the reasons why when I come home, my shoes come off.
It's the very first thing I do.
First thing, my shoes come off. I need to be grounded. And I think that the more grounded we are, the deeper we can think, the deeper we can relax, the deeper we can stop fighting what is and just we're animals. We're just a smarter animal. We're a more capable animal. We can plan, we can negotiate, we can do things. Because think about this, an animal in the wild doesn't think, huh, I'm going to watch Netflix and eat some popcorn. No, it does what it has to do. It doesn't fight. It doesn't fight the weather. It understands the weather. It knows it has to create shelter. It knows it has to go hunt. It knows where the water is. It knows all these things because it allowed itself to stop fighting, including that snake. That snake said, I don't want to be in this water. This is not where I belong, right? I'm going to come back out. And it was that man who kept not understanding what that snake needed. That snake needed to be back on ground, not in the water.
Yeah.
So,
Isn't that fascinating? And she was dying laughing because she's like, of course. And I said, Janet, this has never happened before. And that is how it is when I'm working with clients. Things that have never, ever happened before that relate to what we're talking about, the universe will show you.
mhm.
So what would you say, Sifu, is the number one key to really not fight. That's the first step, I think. Stop fighting. What would you say you do, or you could offer to the clients? Good morning, Jose.
Good
Love you.
morning, Jose. Good morning. What is it that clients, what? Say that again, please.
What is it that you would say is the number one thing to do to stop fighting?
You said it to me in private. You said surrender.
Yes.
Let's talk about surrender because it takes courage to surrender.
Yeah.
Surrender in the moment, even in battle, right? You're not going to win every battle, but we're not in a battle. We're in a war.
Yeah.
Every
And
day,
mhm.
I don't battle whether I'm going to go to the gym. That's part of me putting on my armor. That's part of me getting ready for my war. That's part of me surrendering to who I must become. I am a warrior. I will always be a warrior. And I will help others become warriors too. Because too many people give in to temptations and they're surrendering in the wrong way, if you will. They're surrendering to all the things that are going to be negative in their lives instead of seeing what's in front of them and the positivity. People who struggle with their weight is because they're surrendering to the wrong thing. They're not putting on their armor. They're not saying, I'm a warrior. I have value. I am worthy. I need to live a long life so I can conquer more things in this world. Not conquer so I can dominate over them, but conquer so I can help others. So for me, you were 1,000% right when you said surrender. I was like, that's beautiful. That's a great word. And so many people are going to interpret it to meet their needs. What does that mean to you, Tammy?
Oh, it kind of takes me back to what I was saying about homeless. And if you're just tapping in, go back and listen to from the beginning.
Mhm.
Surrender is I accept what is. I move to neutral.
Mm.
Because really, when we're fighting something, we have a narrow view of it.
Right.
And I tell my clients, it's almost like you're trying to look through this tiny thing when let's take the hands back and look broader, because in everything, the law of polarity and so many universal and spiritual and physical laws exist. But the law of polarity is that to everything, there's an equal and an opposite. So to
Right.
give you an example, the guy, Ken, who stole everything I had and then some,
Mm.
he stole it, yes. But the other part is that I had been asking for a mentor. I had been asking for a curriculum. I had been asking for spiritual growth. I had been asking for ways to catapult my awareness.
Right.
So even though he stole, I also paid him well.
Mm.
I paid him well. And when you look at it from I'm a victim, you're powerless.
Right.
And you're going to fight, because the fight, flight, freeze, and the other word that I use that starts with an F is what is an animalistic behavior. But when we surrender, we're not seeing that. We're just saying, okay, this is right now. Only right now. It's just this moment. It's just
Mm.
right now. I can change this right now. I paid him. When I started looking at it that way, you paid him a lot of money to learn conscious alchemy. That is worth so much more. And I have manifested so much more
Mm-hmm.
because I went through that homelessness.
Right.
So the value and the bravery of me saying yes to
Yeah.
Spirit, when Spirit said, are you sure you want to do this? We got a curriculum. Are you sure? Yes, let's do it. You know, I'm so glad I said yes. But if you're only looking at it from one viewpoint, then it's really like trying to look like this. Let's open our eyes. And surrender is not only I accept what is in the moment, but I'm also going to look at the contrast. What is the good? What is the bad? What is the right? What is the wrong? What is the up? What is the down? We are in this reality to experience these contrasts.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
going to have them. I don't know why we fight when issues come, symptoms, what I call them, come, because they're actually gifts and we can use them and then we can make new decisions. That's what the laws of attraction say. You're experiencing that which you do not want. So you know what you want, so you'll order it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So surrender to me is not just surrendering to what is, but it also is opening my view and seeing the bigger picture of the balance, that elongated figure eight, and standing in the middle of neutrality.
Mm. You made me think, Tammy, about that people are voyeurs in their own life. They're
Yes.
watching through that pinhole instead of observing everything around them, right? I don't want to be a voyeur in my own life. I don't want to be peeking through a little window, if you will, right? I want the whole picture. I want the IMAX experience, by the way. So later today, talking about IMAX, my fiance and I are getting tickets to see the Elvis Presley movie in IMAX. And
Oh,
it's only going to be in IMAX for 1 week, and it doesn't happen till I think February something. She has the dates, so we're going to go get the tickets today. And so she says to me, "Oh, it's only a week in IMAX, and then it opens up regular. It's not going to be in IMAX." And I said, I love the movies. I love going. I and she doesn't, right? So the fact that she brought it up, I'm like, yes, I'm in. I'm in. But here's the thing, right? And then she goes, "Well, do we should we go to IMAX? Why am I going to spend the extra money?" I said, "It's not the money. It's the experience,
yes.
right?" And she's not cheap either, right? But she just why why can't we wait an extra week and then watch it later? I said because you want the experience, and I said why don't you do me a favor? Google what the difference is. So she did, and she goes, "Oh," she goes, "We're never going to get to see Elvis Presley live, so why don't we go experience it?" I said, "See."
Now she got it.
I said, that's what it's about. So I want the IMAX experience, right? I want the big picture. And so many of us are living our lives with blinders on, like you were talking about, watching through a pinhole. But we need to surrender and understand that the world we live in is so much more than we give it credit for. The people around us are beautiful, even the ones that act ugly.
Yes. There are servants too.
Even yes. And you talked about Ken, how he stole, but maybe that was his purpose.
It was. I would hug him today and
Yeah.
say, thank you.
He would be like, "What are you doing? I stole
I
from
know.
you.
I would
Why are you
hug him
hugging
and
me?"
say, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And let me share with you what I did with it.
Mhm.
We collaborated. We collaborated. So every single person in your life, no matter who they are,
Right.
can be your servant. If you look at it, you are here
Mhm.
to teach me something. I look, even though I do what I do and I mentor and I'm a spiritual teacher and I'm an intuitive and I can read people and businesses and all these things, I look at every single person that comes into my life, whether it's for a moment, years, or a client. You're my servant too. I'm going to learn from you. What can I learn from you? What do you have that's going to elevate me? What, and watching you transform and watching you awaken it was an interesting exercise last night. One of my business coaches has asked me to go back to my clients that signed up for a 90-day program that was called the Rising Sovereign. And so I talked to two of my clients last night, and I was feverishly typing just as they're talking, this happened and this happened and this happened. And these are the takeaways and the results from the night. Janet gave me 3.5 pages. And one of the things she said was, Tammy, once you introduced our sovereignty to us, she said, then I started watching, and it opened up this entire world. And I started watching everyone, whether they were in their sovereignty or out of it. Not judgment, observing and seeing the difference of when somebody is owning their truth and knowing who they are. And they're standing in that, like I'm going to have to do to speak to the United Nations. And by the way, that will be on YouTube.
Nice.
Will be on YouTube. Hey, Marianne. Oh my goodness. I love her. She's in Europe. Love her. Haven't seen you in a while. And if anybody has questions, please ask questions. Please ask questions. But that awakening to, oh, this world is so much bigger than we thought. And we're important. Your way of speaking, your way of saying something is so important. Your way of communicating, your experiences are value to me. And so, come on, let's play on the playground.
One of the things that you talked about earlier is that you have a 2-minute window to impact. And a lot of people go, oh, I can talk forever. Yeah. And a lot of it becomes nonsense, right? When we talk, our words matter so much. This is what I coach people on, because I'm helping people get on stages and be better at podcasts and all these things. But it's the words that we use that will impact someone else. How do you shine your light if it's flooded with nonsense, right? With dirt. So it's about cleaning your lens so that you can shine it brighter. And a 2-minute speech, I forget who said it, but they said, if you have me talk for 3 hours, I don't even have to prepare. If you ask me to talk for anywhere less than an hour, wow, do I have to prepare?
It is harder.
If you ask me to speak for 20 minutes, I prepare. The shorter the time, the more preparation that goes into it. So a 2-minute speech could be a 6-month preparation. It could be a 4-month preparation. It could be hours upon hours upon hours upon hours. If we all remember Steve Jobs, whenever he did a presentation of anything new coming up, and everybody's been following his footsteps because he set up a great concept for everybody to understand. Less is more. And he did that with his slides, because there was not 1,000 words on it. It was one word and an image. And images create something. And so for that slide, for that word, he didn't just say, put this word up on the screen. No, it took hours to come up with the right word.
Yeah.
One word. It took countless of hours to do even when he introduced the iPhone or the iPod for the first time, it took months and months of preparation, rehearsing go over it, go over it, go over it. It's not right. It doesn't feel right. And so that's how we become brilliant, by continually cleaning our lens, cleaning this and here. What we do in the morning, what we do in the middle of the day, what we do before we go to sleep. How do we start our days? So stop fighting what is and start working with what is every
Yeah,
day.
I didn't even know that I was going to be given this opportunity in the General Assembly. And then there's another one that I may be speaking at. And I'm like, how how. But let me tell you something interesting that one of my coaches told me. She said, Tammy, take the chakra system and start your speech with the crown, and then the third eye, and then the throat, and then the heart, solar plexus, abdomen, and the survival chakra, and have that energy running. And so I have a coach in the UK, and I let her hear. I had a one-on-one with her with Nick Staub's program. And her takeaway was, I didn't tell her. And I said, part of this I'm going to have to read because I still don't have it memorized. And I said, so she said, well, first of all, I couldn't tell when you were reading and when you were speaking and your tone and the way that you're doing it. She said, but something weird was happening to my body.
Mm.
And I said, what? She said, well, my crown chakra just started opening up and it was itching and it was, and then it went to my third eye and then it went to my throat. And she started describing. And then she said, then it came back up to the heart. The very last words you said brought me back to the heart. And I went, you're not going crazy. That is the main thing that I have been working on in my speech is the energy, not for me to project it.
Right.
The excellencies and the distinguished guests and the leaders of the world. I'm not projecting anything. I'm opening the chakra system. And she went, I knew exactly where you were at each moment. And I said, good, I don't have to concentrate on that as much. Now I just need to memorize the physical part of it. Because in a 5-minute speech, the memorization is very important. And the ambassador actually helped me with it very generously. And I said, why are you doing this? He said, because I have such a connection with you, Tammy. I only do this for my closest friends.
Mm.
But for you, I know how important it is, and you're bringing in the spiritual to world leaders. And I want you to nail it.
Nice.
And so it's
That's beautiful.
the support. And then the people that are hearing this speech and going, I felt the energy of it. And I was like, that was more important to me than the words.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of memorizing to do before I get up there in front of that next Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. And when the words resonate, they last, right? They impact, and that's why I know you're going to nail it, literally, in the UN.
Thank you. I don't feel pressure
No pressure. Why
because
should
what
listen?
I
You
feel,
only feel pressure if you're lying, right? You're gonna
yes,
feel
or
pressure if you're lying, or
if
if
you
you're
don't believe in yourself.
correct.
But
Correct.
I did this, and I'll tell you how I did it. There's a lady that I'm actually going to get to talk to her. I was in a meeting in Hillary DeCaesar's group, and this lady said, I want to speak at the UN. And I went, wow, I didn't know commoners could speak at the UN. I thought it was scientists and, whomever. And I just said to the universe, I want to speak at the United Nations. And then here I am.
Mm,
So I'm going to get to tell her what a mark she made on my life. Like I
nice.
say, everybody has something to teach me. And I finally got connected to who she was, and we're going to meet. I said, let me get through it first. And I'll tell you, she's the reason I'm there, because that idea, everybody has something to give you.
Mhm.
So we don't really need to fight people. What are you here to serve? Why did I agree to go through this curriculum? And how am I going to overcome it?
That's huge. How am I going to go through it? But I think most importantly is how am I going to overcome it? Right. We have to take the steps necessary for success. One of the things that I've heard 1,000 times, and I know everybody listening to us, and I know you have, is that success leaves breadcrumbs, right? Or it leaves clues. I rather listen to the clues than breadcrumbs because there's going to be a little bird that's going to come eat the breadcrumbs. So you might miss it. So I'd rather look for the clues. So the breadcrumbs you may see, but the clues you have to look for. And I like adventure. So why not go searching, figure it out, understand what's important to us, right? Understand that you're worth more than you ever imagined. And so you have to stop fighting what is you. You stop fighting you and let the world see the brilliance. And I know you're going to do that come next Wednesday. I mean, I see it now. I mean, anybody watching this show should see it. Your brilliance.
Thank you.
So with that, I think we've come to the top of the hour where we're actually top of the half hour. Actually, it's 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. Do me a favor, everybody. Share the show with somebody who needed to hear today's message, and connect with Tammy. Her information is going at the bottom, and it's pretty easy. It's her name.com, right? And mine too. Mine is pretty easy too. SifuRafael.com. We cannot get easier or simpler than that. So connect with us in any which way that we can help you. I know that Tammy will say the same thing. So thank you, Tammy, for today. Really appreciate you.
Thank you all for being here, whether you are live with us or you're listening later. Thank you so much for gracing our lives. Your energy matters.
Absolutely. By the way, join us. The next time we're together is February 11th.
Yes.
February 11th. Because next week she's going to be speaking at the UN. So we can't do it then. But February 11th, we'll be back with another
Okay.
great topic, another great conversation. And if somebody hasn't seen our show, share it with them. They need to see it. All right.
Thank
Take
you
care,
all.
everybody.
Thank you.
All right.